Are you blessing your children or cursing them?
Welcome to Parenting Matters Now, a source of parenting advice a few minutes at a time.
Hi, this is Dr. Roger Smith of the Parenting Matters Now. I have been irritated by something I encountered today in someone in my community that really set me on fire, and I need to address it. And it is generational curses or generational blessings. Do I believe in those things? I would say yes, but maybe not in a mystical fashion, sometimes not even in a spiritual fashion, but in a practical, pragmatic way. And I want to explain it. To the degree that we live out our beliefs, I live out our attitudes, our value systems before our children, we pass those on. And if they are good, it is a blessing to our children. If they are not so good, they are unwholesome values, practices, habits, we pass those on to our children in a sense that their lives are cursed. They have to overcome those things. They have to overcome the training that we've given them for bad things, bad attitudes, condescension toward other people, uh, um, lack of generosity, any number of things. And so, to the degree that you want to bless your children, it's going to depend upon how you live. So, I challenge you to pause and say, what are the things I value most? And in my case, my number one value, number one for me, is kindness. I value honesty. I value generosity. I value uh, uh, being thoughtful of others. But kindness is, for me, the number one. That is the calling that I sense for me. So you do an accounting of your value systems, even write them down. It would be great to have a list to write down the things you think are important in life and then mark of the things you think are most important, choose the top three and make sure that you talk about them with your children, that you live them out intentionally. You have practices or plans where you will show generosity, not just show generosity, but be generous. So it's more of the being and less of the just talking about it, but it involves explaining what it is that you believe to be true and good and right and wholesome and how your life should be. And in those things where you can talk about it, you can live it out with your children, they see it in a very practical sense, and that it becomes a blessing to them. And if your life is chaotic and has lots of negative, that becomes, in a sense, kind of a curse for your children, not in a mystical kind of way, but it is something that they will have to deal with. There was a young lady who was sitting next to me telling about how she had made a decision to take what in her childhood was a curse, a negative, and she said, "I am the point where I will turn that for good. I want it to, from my generation on, to be turned to a blessing." And so she was making very practical, uh, daily decisions that would have a positive impact on her children. And so in that sense, we have to look at our lives and go, is our life a blessing for our children? And that's not the things that they have. The blessing is the springboard from our lives where we are giving them values that will guide their decision making and guide their practices in life to where their life will be rich in good deeds or rich in experience, not rich in things. Things don't give us life. We use things and love people rather than love things and use people. And so, to the degree that we use things and love people, our lives will be a blessing. You will be blessing your children. And so, sometimes we have to pause and go, in what ways am I not living up to what I believe to be of high value? Make your list. uh, and don't take an extensive amount of time. They will come rise to the surface rapidly if you say, "Oh, I'm gonna take 2 minutes. I'm gonna list as many character traits that I think are important," and make you a list in 1 or 2 minutes, and then stop and go, "Okay, what are the top 3?" And mark them and go, "Am I living in such a way that I talk about these, I live these out, and my children see these in practice?" And that there's a scripture in the Bible in Deuteronomy, it says, "And you speak of these things as you sit in your house, as you rise up, as you lie down, as you sit in your house, and as you walk by the way." And as I say, as you're going to the hardware store or the grocery store, as you're sitting on your porch or by the pool, do these values come up in your conversation? They should. And so you can say, how can we, in my case, because kindness is number one, and say, how can we show kindness to our neighbor down the road who is losing her memory? How can we be kind to the child at church or in the community group that we know has a less desirable situation? So in our context, my words would be kindness. For you, it may be honest. How can we live more honestly? How can we live more thoughtful of others? So think of your value system and plan to communicate that. And oh, may it be a blessing to your children as they go forward and they raise their children in those values. This is Dr. Roger Smith of Parenting Matters Now.
Subscribe to Parenting Matters Now for more advice, or go to rogersmithmd.com to search for more topics. See you next time.